What is up, you guys? Welcome to a new episode of Life of G Podcast. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. No, that was not a prank notification on your phone. We are back, baby. And I'm going to be kicking things back off with solo potting, and hopefully, you guys like it. If you're new here, hi, I'm G, the Puerto Rican podcast princess, your favorite baby mama in the building. And let's get into it. I can't even begin to explain how excited and happy I am to be back in front of a camera, back in front of a mic. I've needed this for my soul, for my spirit. I took my time and now we're back. And, they say practice makes perfect. So this is not my first attempt at filming this episode for you guys. I actually tried pretty late last night, and in true Life of G podcast fashion, our resident mascot Simba just had to make an appearance. So I do want to share a clip of my blooper reel before we get into the episode. Take a look. All right, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Simba Really.
Okay.
I didn't even get through like the intro. There's literally cat hair on the mic.
Bruh.
No.
Good old Simba. I couldn't even get through the intro. And then I don't know why I didn't pay attention that there was a lot of cat hair. Don't worry. It's been cleaned off for today. So we got through that. It's a process, but that's why practicing matters. He's not in the room with us today though, so he shouldn't interrupt anything. But we do have Tinkerbell and we do have Jasmine. So who knows? Before we get into any of the topics that I want to talk to you guys about today, I do want to give a huge shout out to everyone who has been here. Y'all have been riding with me for quite some time. And being able to come back to the podcast at 200 subscribers is something that I didn't expect, but I knew we could. If you don't know, our YouTube podcast anniversary since making the visual episodes on YouTube is September 15th. So that was our 2-year anniversary on YouTube. And man, it's been great. 2 years of showing up, growth, um, weird stories, serious moments, arguments, and a lot of laughter. I've loved being able to see all the different sides of Life with G podcast, and it is a full circle moment to now just be sitting in front of the camera, just me and you. Don't worry, we are gonna have guests that come in. I have some lined up, and I'm excited to just get back to it. September 15th isn't just significant because it's the anniversary of our podcast on YouTube. It's significant because it marks the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. It runs from September 15th through October 15th here in the United States, and it is for recognizing the contributions and influence of Hispanic Americans to the history, culture, and achievements of the United States. It started back in the 80s, late 80s. I believe it was 1988 is what it's saying on here. Don't quote me on that. Everything's AI overview, and they are changing our history as we speak. But I want to take a moment and just be very serious. I don't think that we can talk about Hispanic Heritage Month without recognizing and highlighting the very real fears that our people are facing right now in this country under this administration. Whether you agree or disagree with immigration, I'm not here to argue that with you. What I want to talk to you guys about in reference to Hispanic Heritage Month is the fact that a lot of us now are fearful. They have legalized being able to racially profile us, which they were already doing anyways. But now, of course, it's a little razzle dazzle of legalizing that. And you guys can look into that and look into policy changes. But now they're able to pull you, ICE specifically, they're able to pull you aside and ask you questions and see if you need to be detained if they hear you speaking Spanish or based on how you look, which is it's very scary. And I think for a lot of Hispanics in this country, it makes you wonder. Like, my children are in a dual language program, which is something that I wish I would have had at my disposal whenever I was young and going to school. I think practice makes perfect, and it helps reinforce just the language, which I know so many of our Hispanics that are here in the United States have lost. And so I really support things like that. But when I see legislation being passed where there's a fear now speaking in Spanish. I took a trip to Colorado and I remember one of my homegirls, she's Puerto Rican and she was like, don't speak Spanish. Don't go out there speaking Spanish. And it's crazy to think about because I want us to have pride about what makes us different. You know, we can appreciate things about being American and being in the United States of America without having to sacrifice the things that make us unique and our heritage, our culture, our language. Those are things that do make us unique. And I want to pass down to the next generation. And I think that it's important that we do. But unfortunately, a lot of Latinos under this current administration have been stating that they feel limited by language pressure and that they're being discouraged from speaking Spanish in public, in schools, or in work because it might draw negative attention. So I just want to be very clear that where I stand on this is that we cannot let fear steal our culture. We cannot let fear force us into assimilation. Our language, our stories, our traditions, passing them down matters. And if we stay silent, if we stay complicit, you know what I'm saying? If we hide these parts of ourselves, the roots our roots they will wither, and that's something that I don't want to see. So yeah, I just want you guys to have that message of being proud of being Hispanic, especially during this time. Again, like I said, whether you are pro-immigration, anti-immigration, whatever it is racial profiling, it is discrimination, and Latinos are being targeted at an alarming rate in this country. And so my thoughts and prayers go out to all of you. I know that got serious. I know y'all were probably waiting for me to talk about all the good things of being Latino, but I got to be real because 2025 is been stressful. I don't know for y'all, but for me personally, it has felt like I am in my own personal version of Jumanji. And I just want to say before we dig into these topics, these are serious topics. We just talked about different policy changes when it comes to ICE immigration, all of that stuff under this current administration, and that probably made some of you uncomfortable. Probably made some of you want to go ahead and click it off because you felt like that was going to be the tone of this episode. I know before when I had guests on, there was this really big push to not make things political, not really share your opinions on that because we don't want to get canceled, we don't want to be doxxed, we don't want all the things, right? But what's going on right now in the United States of America, and specifically what has been happening in September, this month alone, it intermingles. Everything intersects with free speech, truth, identity, our safety. All of that intersects here. So I'm not going to shy away from the tough topic. That being said, I'm going to lay out what's known, what's public. We're not going to get into the left versus the right. We are just going to be talking about facts. So let's get into the elephant in the room, which is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie Kirk was shot and killed on September 10th, 2025, during an event at a Utah Valley University. He was a conservative activist. And he was the founder of Turning Point USA. Following his death, there has been a lot of controversy. Jimmy Kimmel made a monologue about Kirk's death in which he criticized political responses, particularly from conservative circles. And after that, ABC announced it would pull Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely, citing the backlash and comments from officials, including FCC Chair Brendan Carr. This matters. This is important. This is where we're talking about freedom of speech. And this is why this matters, especially for someone like myself who has a podcast platform, and for all of you who are free thinkers and want to think for yourselves. You don't want to be told what to think. You want to be able to look at it, right? You want to be able to educate yourself. You want the freedom to change your mind. You want the freedom to question things. And that is what is under attack right now. And that's something that's been under attack for quite some time. And I personally feel that they are using Charlie Kirk's passing, unfortunately, to further that agenda of limiting what the media and the press can say in regards to Donald Trump. And I do want to get into the clip itself because if you haven't seen it, I feel like it's important to get into. Also, side note, be sure to follow me on TikTok before we go to TikTok USA. Actually, no, just follow my Instagram because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do TikTok USA. Um, But my TikTok, for those of you who didn't know, is Life with G Baby 93. And let's go ahead and get into this clip of Jimmy Kimmel that got him fired.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Okay, so that was a clip, like I said, right? Like I mentioned. This caused ABC to pull him off indefinitely, and it was based off of Brendan Carr asking them to take it off. And many are asking, when does criticism become censorship? When does a broadcaster get taken off because someone powerful doesn't like something that they're saying? There's always been this underline of like, the government is controlling the media. The government is controlling the media. But now it seems like it is expanding. And, you know, Jimmy Kimmel is a comedian. Despite his political views, he is a comedian, and he, you know, you're giving him the content. It's not like he shared a clip that didn't happen. So just the fact that he's commenting on something that did happen and people are upset and in his perspective of it, to the point where his entire show gets canceled, and you're seeing people in the government that are on the right side just openly talking about like, oh, well, he wasn't funny. Like we didn't like that joke. There's so many things that so many of you in power, in front of a mic, in front of a camera, say that offend so many people, and yet you still have the platform to continue to spread hatred, divisiveness, etc., and so on. So I do think that it was unfair. But when you see which organizations are willing to try to shut people up, I definitely think the best way that you can combat that is pulling that support from them altogether. I've seen a lot of tips online about how you can basically make them feel it, to let them know that we as the American people don't appreciate the censorship or freedom of speech being attacked in general. I'm pro freedom of speech, even if someone's saying something that I don't like. And hopefully, if you're supporting this podcast, so are you. And that's just kind of where I want to leave it there. I want to ask you guys, like, at what point? At what point? Where is the line? Where is the line? Do you think Jimmy Kimmel should have been pulled off the air for that? And other news, we know the phenomenon of Florida Man. If you don't, Google it. These stories exist for a reason, for us to laugh, shake our heads, but also to reflect about what makes Florida such a breeding ground for what the fuck. And look no further than the scuba diver robbery that took place at Disney Springs. Okay, so September 15th. We're going to go back to it again. September 15th, a seafood centric restaurant in a popular Disney owned entertainment area, Disney Springs. Y'all can see what it looks like. It is on the water. So part of it, it's like docked. So it's on the water. This is the robber right here. Y'all, I can't. It says that this was after closing, and employees at Disney Springs Paddlefish restaurant were counting the business profits after closing when a bandit entered and made off with between $10,000 and $20,000 in cash. Surveillance footage captured the individual wearing a wetsuit, goggles, and gloves. Additionally, the individual left within 2 minutes, and the employees called 911 after freeing themselves. The suspect, who was covered from head to toe, is described as a man about 5'10" with a slim build. And they said that it's an active investigation. They haven't found it. You guys, he walks in after closing. Why were the doors not locked? He walks in. He was already in the scuba gear. None of y'all pause. It doesn't mention anything about him having any weapons, but that he told them to get in a corner and then he tied them up. And this is more than one employee. More than one employee. Hold on. Let me see if we can.
Who or what does this look like with the menacing, googly looking eyes? The creature from the Black Lagoon?
Loch Ness Monster coming out of a swamp.
No, he's the suspect in a robbery that happened around
Florida
midnight Monday at Disney Springs. The restaurant that got hit, the Paddlefish, looks like a big Mississippi River-style paddle boat. According to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the suspect, complete with swimming goggles, a mask, cap, gloves, and who looks like he's about to spray paint the surveillance camera, made his way into the manager's office while they were depositing cash into the safe, pushed two employees into the corner of the office, told them to go down, put them on their knees, and demanded they close their eyes. Now, fortunately, the two employees were not hurt, and the report indicates that the rest of the crew was upstairs cleaning.
Just ridiculous. I mean, how are you going to find this dude?
Visitors and locals we talked to near Disney Springs processed it all with different levels of astoundment.
I think this world is sick lately.
I said, that's insane. What is this world coming to?
The suspect, whom witnesses say was covered from head to toe, is described as a man about 5'10" with a slim build. And as an added touch on his feet, he was wearing socks, just socks, and no shoes. Covering Orange County and Orlando, Michelle Meredith, West 2 News.
Wait. Espérate. It's the socks and no shoes that's getting me more than anything. But also, so two employees. He walks in. He's already in the scuba gear when he walks in. Hold on. Let me unshare this because I'm confused. But this man walks in like this. This man walks in like this. Okay. And the rest of the crew is upstairs. Nobody else saw this man walking up. And then not to mention, he left and he went swimming. When he escaped, he swam away. There's a rule with Florida. If you go, you touch the water and it's wet, there's a gator in there. And I don't know. I gotta say, this story is absolutely hilarious to me. I know it's a robbery. I know you need to take it serious, but I feel like this man watched an episode or he's got to play GTA. There is a mission in GTA, and those of you who know what I'm talking about, please tell me what mission it is. But you have to like get into like a sub and scuba gear or some shit like that in order to do the robbery. I feel like this man plays GTA. He definitely has Florida man tendencies because socks and no shoes. And then you're going to go swimming with the socks on. I don't know why that infuriates me so much. I'm more upset about that than the fact that he apparently got away with $10,000 to $20,000. Also, why is there a range? Why don't we know how much money to be exact? Why is there a cap? Is that like the average? Because they were in the middle of counting. This has got to be an inside job. For you to know where to go, that these people are downstairs by themselves, they're counting. They didn't mention any weapons. You don't see any weapons on the security camera footage. And it was two employees, and he managed to scare them, put them in a corner, tie them up, but not tight enough to where they couldn't free themselves. And dude was only there for 2 minutes. I know it's an active investigation. Maybe there's more things that they're not telling us. But Between that and the public's reaction of what is this world coming to, 2025, the past like 10 years has been crazy, but 2025 is just the icing on the motherfucking cake. And we know that. And I don't think that a scuba diver robber in Disney Springs who didn't technically hurt anybody was pretty much just given the cash. I don't look at that and think what's wrong with this world in 2025. I think this is a very creative individual. I think he executed it very well. I do feel like it's an inside job. I do, if you're watching, never swim with socks on again. I don't understand that. I don't get that. But maybe someone can explain how the socks would have been beneficial in this case. Yeah, hell, I say shit. In today's economy, 10,000 to 20,000 is probably going to go pretty quick. It's something that he can spend, at a decent rate without it being too flashy. And I feel like all the work that he put in and him risking his life jumping back into that water, he earned it. So I don't think it should be an active investigation anymore. I think it should just be full stop. Also, investigate talk to the people that got tied up, but apparently not tied up enough. It was an inside job. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. What are y'all's thoughts on this robbery, the Florida man theory? How are y'all feeling? How are y'all feeling about that? I mean, Florida is, I tell people all the time, Florida is not for the weak. That being said, that is September 2025. That's what's been going on here. Now, these solo episodes were going to be more my thoughts, my takes, my reactions to things that are going on. And this is what I want to leave you with. First and foremost, we have to hold on. We are literally all of us, regardless of your background, your upbringing, all of us are hanging on for dear life, and we have to hold on. We have to hold on to our roots and what make us individual from each other. That is what allows us all to contribute to a beautiful, beautiful place, a beautiful world. And whether it's someone telling you to stop speaking Spanish, or Charlie Kirk being assassinated, or Jimmy Kimmel getting pulled off air, these are all a part of the bigger story about identity, truth, and free speech. And I want to hear from you. Which stories that we discussed today resonated the most? What tradition or language do you want to make sure your children or people around you learn? And tell me topics that you want me to talk about next. It's been 2 years in, and we've had the fun, the deep, the weird, and the ride is not over, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks for being here. Stay proud, stay loud, stay you. And if anybody tells you that you can't, yes, the fuck you can. Besos, blessings, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Live.